High Counselor Lyra stood before the massive crystalline window of the Xylaxian High Council chamber, her translucent fingers trembling as she studied the holographic display. The peaceful evening sky of Xylax Prime, normally painted in gentle swirls of purple and gold from their binary stars, now seemed to mock their impending doom. The Nexar raid fleet will reach our system in approximately 4 standard cycles, she announced to the assembled council members, her voice barely above a whisper. The other council members' bioluminescent patterns flickered with fear, casting eerie shadows across the chamber's pearlescent walls. The Xylaxians had evolved on a low-gravity world, developing incredible biotechnology and becoming masters of genetic engineering. Their semi-transparent bodies could photosynthesize energy directly from their stars, and their touch could heal almost any injury. But they were physically fragile, their crystalline bone structure could shatter from a simple fall. Our defensive capabilities are insufficient, Security Director Ven reported, his skin patterns shifting to a deep blue of despair. The Nexar fleet consists of over 300 vessels, each one equipped with weapons designed to crack planetary crusts. Our entire defense force numbers only 40 ships, primarily designed for research and exploration. The council chamber erupted in waves of color as the assembled leaders processed this information. The Nexar raiders were infamous throughout this sector of space, savage warriors who stripped conquered worlds of resources and enslaved their populations. They specifically targeted peaceful civilizations, knowing they would find little resistance. There must be another option, Councillor Taris insisted, her crystalline form trembling. What about our allies among the collective? Too far, Lyra replied. Even at maximum speed, their nearest fleet couldn't arrive for at least 15 cycles. We have 4. The chamber fell silent save for the soft humming of their environmental systems. Then Science Director Zara spoke, her voice steady despite the rapid color changes rippling across her skin. There is one possibility, she said, activating a new holographic display. 3 stellar cycles ago, our deep space sensors detected a new spacefaring species. They come from a world that most species would consider completely uninhabitable. The display showed a beautiful blue-green planet, but the data scrolling beside it caused gasps of horror throughout the chamber. Gravity nearly twice Xylaxian normal. Extreme temperature variations. Atmospheric pressure that would crush most species. Active tectonic plates. Regular storms of incredible violence. The humans, Lyra breathed, recognition dawning in her luminescent eyes. Yes, Zara continued. While most species avoid them due to their physical capabilities, they've consistently offered assistance to any civilization in need. Their ships and technology are built to withstand conditions that would tear our vessels apart. You can't be serious, Ven interrupted, his patterns flashing warning colors. They're predators. Their bodies contain hostile microorganisms. They can survive radiation levels that would kill us instantly. They drink poison for pleasure. And they're our only hope, Lyra said quietly, studying the image of Earth. The Nexar raiders expect to find another easy target. They've never faced a species that evolved on a death world. The council debated for hours, their skin patterns shifting through every shade of fear and uncertainty. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. They had no choice. In a secured communication chamber, Lyra composed the message herself, to the United Earth Government, from the Xylaxian High Council. Our civilization faces imminent destruction from Nexar raiders. We formally request immediate military assistance under the Galactic Emergency Aid Protocol. Please help us. We have nowhere else to turn. As the faster-than-light transmission raced toward Earth, Lyra watched the twin suns set through the crystal spires of their capital city. She wondered if she had just saved her people by calling monsters to fight monsters, or if she had merely chosen a different form of destruction. The response came faster than anyone expected. A simple message that caused Lyra's skin to pulse with both hope and terror. This is Admiral Victoria Hayes of the United Earth Space Force. Help is coming. Hold on. Within hours, human warships began emerging from hyperspace above Xylax Prime. They were dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb the light from the binary stars. Nothing like the elegant, crystalline ships of the Xylaxians. They looked like what they were, weapons built by a species that had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. The monsters had arrived. But these monsters had come to protect. Admiral Victoria Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, her weathered face illuminated by holographic displays showing the desperate situation around Xylax Prime. At 53, she had seen her share of conflicts, but this was different. This wasn't just another battle, it was humanity's first chance to prove they could be protectors, not just the galaxy's bogeyman. Status report, she commanded, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone used to making life-or-death decisions. Commander Marcus Rodriguez, her tactical officer, brought up a detailed projection of the system. The Nexar raid fleet will arrive in approximately 72 hours. We've got 25 warships assembled, with 5 more en route. Against 300 enemy vessels. Those odds sound about right, Hayes replied with a slight smile. For humans, anyway. The bridge crew shared knowing looks. They had all seen the data on the Nexar raiders, brutal and efficient, but they had never faced an enemy that evolved on a death world. Never encountered ships built to withstand the crushing pressures and volatile conditions that Earth-based vessels dealt with as a matter of course. Lieutenant Reza Patel, the ship's science officer, brought up new data streams. The Xylaxian defensive grid is impressive, but it's designed for their environmental parameters. Their shields would shatter under impacts that our hulls shrug off routinely. Then we adapt, Hayes decided. Work with their engineers. See if we can integrate their crystal technology with our defense systems. Sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected combinations. Down in the main hangar bay, Colonel Diana Walsh watched her Marine units prepare for possible ground combat. The sight would have terrified most species, humans in powered combat armor moving with casual ease in gravity that would cripple most alien races, carrying weapons designed to function in Earth's crushing atmospheric pressure. Remember, she briefed her troops, the Xylaxians are physically fragile but technologically advanced. Our job isn't just to fight, it's to protect. One wrong move could shatter their bones. We're not here to be feared. We're here to be guardians. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Hideo Tanaka worked alongside Xylaxian technicians, watching in amazement as they manipulated their crystalline technology. The aliens moved with deliberate care in the reduced gravity that humans considered uncomfortably light, their transparent bodies glowing with patterns of nervous energy as they watched Tanaka casually lift equipment that would crush them. Your power systems are incredible, he told them, studying their crystal-based energy matrix. If we can synchronize them with our shield generators, we might be able to create a defensive screen that neither of us could manage alone. The Xylaxian engineers' skin patterns shifted to colors of cautious hope as they worked. They had feared the humans at first, their dense muscles, their internal skeleton, their casual disregard for conditions that would kill most species. But they were beginning to understand that the same attributes that made humans terrifying could make them the perfect defenders. Admiral Hayes received a priority communication from the Xylaxian High Council. High Counselor Lyra's transparent form shimmered on the holographic display, her patterns showing a mix of fear and determination. The Nexar advanced scouts have begun probing our outer system defenses, Lyra reported. Our sensors indicate they're still unaware of your presence. We've managed to mask your ship's energy signatures using our crystalline technology. Hayes nodded. Good. Let them think they're facing another easy target. The surprise on their faces when they realize they're dealing with Death Worlders will be worth recording. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. James O'Connor studied Xylaxian physiology with fascination. Their crystalline biology was unlike anything he'd encountered, capable of remarkable healing abilities but terrifyingly fragile. He worked with Xylaxian medical specialists to prepare for casualties, bridging the vast gulf between their different approaches to medicine. "Your healing technology is extraordinary," he told his Xylaxian counterpart, watching them repair damaged tissue with a simple touch. "If we survive this, the medical advances we could make together could change everything." As the hours ticked down, humanity's fleet moved into position. They had arranged their ships in a pattern that would have killed crews from most species, using Xylax Prime's intense magnetic field to mask their presence. The crew of each vessel ran final checks on weapons designed to function in conditions that would destroy most alien ships. Hayes stood at her command station, watching the tactical display as the massive Nexar raid fleet approached. They were about to learn a lesson that Earth's predators had learned millions of years ago: sometimes the most dangerous prey was the one that looked the weakest, because it had friends that others had learned to fear. "All ships, battle stations," she ordered, her voice calm but carrying an edge of anticipation. "Let's show the galaxy why you don't threaten those under humanity's protection." The monsters of Earth were ready for war. But this time, they would be monsters with a purpose, protectors of the weak, defenders of the innocent. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's strength could be used for more than just destruction. The Nexar raid fleet emerged from hyperspace like a dark cloud blotting out the stars, their ships bristling with weapons stolen from 100 conquered worlds. On the bridge of their command vessel, War Leader Kraz sneered at the readings showing the Xylaxian defense force. 40 ships, he growled, his scales rippling with amusement. And such delicate vessels. This won't even qualify as a battle. The Nexar fleet moved forward in an attack formation they had used to destroy countless civilizations. Their sensors showed nothing unusual, just the expected crystalline ships of their fragile prey. Then everything changed. Admiral Hayes' voice cut through every Nexar communication channel. "This is the United Earth Space Force. You are facing a protected world. Withdraw immediately, or be destroyed." For a moment, there was confusion on the Nexar bridge. Before they could respond, space itself seemed to come alive. Human warships appeared from within the magnetic field distortions, their dark hulls absorbing weapon fire that would have vaporized most vessels. "Impossible!" Kraz roared as the first volley from the human fleet tore through 3 of his ships. "What manner of vessels are these?" On the Thunderchild, Hayes watched the battle unfold with calculated precision. "All ships, execute Maneuver Delta. Show them what Death Worlders can do." The human fleet moved in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine. They pulled turns that would have torn apart normal ships, absorbed hits that should have been fatal, and struck back with weapons designed to function under Earth's crushing atmospheric pressure. Lieutenant Patel's voice carried excitement as he reported, "The Xylaxian crystal tech is amplifying our shield harmonics by 300%. Their sensors are perfectly complementing our targeting systems." In engineering, Tanaka coordinated with his Xylaxian counterparts, pushing their hybrid defense systems to limits that frightened their alien allies but made perfect sense to humans used to operating in extreme conditions. "Redirect power through the crystalline matrix," he ordered. "Our systems can handle the overload. Trust me." The Nexar fleet's advantage in numbers began to mean less and less as they discovered their usual tactics were useless against ships built to survive conditions that would destroy most spacefaring vessels. When they concentrated fire on one human ship, it would absorb punishment that should have cracked a planet while its companions tore the attackers apart. Commander Rodriguez orchestrated the fleet's movements with ruthless efficiency. "They're trying to adapt their tactics," he reported. "But they've never fought an enemy that gets stronger under pressure." The battle transformed into a deadly dance of light and shadow. Human ships, dark and predatory, moved through space with impossible grace. Their Xylaxian allies provided targeting data of unprecedented precision, their crystalline sensors detecting vulnerabilities no other race could spot. War Leader Kraz watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. "These creatures," he demanded, "what are they?" The answer came as a human destroyer emerged from a nearby explosion, its hull glowing red-hot but intact. These were beings who had evolved on a world with twice the gravity of most habitable planets, who had developed space flight despite atmospheric pressures that would crush most species, who had learned to thrive in conditions that would kill nearly any other race. "All ships, execute maneuver Omega," Hayes commanded. The human fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their formation creating a killing field that caught the Nexar ships in a web of crossfire. The crystalline cities of Xylax Prime reflected the battle above, turning the sky into a kaleidoscope of destruction. High Counselor Lyra watched from the surface, her patterns shifting between fear and awe. "They move like predators," she whispered, "but they fight like guardians." The Nexar fleet began to break apart, their rigid battle formations shattering under the relentless pressure of humanity's assault. Ships that had terrorized countless peaceful worlds found themselves being hunted by creatures who had evolved as pursuit predators. "You were wrong about humans," Hayes transmitted to the Nexar command ship. "We're not just strong. We're strong enough to protect others. Remember that, if you survive." The battle reached its crescendo as the human fleet executed a final, devastating attack pattern. Ships moving with precision that would kill most alien crews created a sphere of destruction around the remaining Nexar vessels. The raiders found themselves trapped between human warships and the crystalline defense platforms of Xylax Prime, their options narrowing to surrender or annihilation. But the battle wasn't over. Some Nexar ships, desperate and cornered, began atmospheric entry. They would try to take hostages on the surface, using the Xylaxians' fragility against their protectors. "Colonel Walsh," Hayes called, "looks like your Marines are going to get their chance after all. Show them what Earth's gravity really means in a ground war." The monsters of Earth prepared to take their fight to the surface of Xylax Prime. The space battle had been impressive, but now it was time to show the raiders why attacking a world protected by Death Worlders had been their last mistake. Colonel Diana Walsh watched from her dropship as Nexar landing craft punched through the atmosphere of Xylax Prime. The crystalline spires of the Xylaxian capital glittered beneath them, beautiful and terrifyingly fragile. Each impact from a Nexar ship sent tremors through the crystal structures that could shatter entire buildings. "Remember your training," she addressed her Marines through the tactical network. "We're not here to destroy. We're here to protect." Every broken crystal could mean Xylaxian casualties. The Marines of the 1st Terrestrial Defense Force moved with practiced precision, their powered armor compensating for the planet's low gravity. What the Xylaxians considered normal atmospheric pressure felt like a vacuum to the humans, allowing them to move faster than even their suits were designed for. Lieutenant Jackson Reed led the first squad into position around the Xylaxian Central Medical Facility. The crystalline building housed thousands of patients and contained irreplaceable healing technology. The Nexar raiders would target it first. "Contact," Reed whispered into his comm, 200+ hostiles approaching from the north. "They're using standard heavy assault gear." Walsh smiled inside her helmet. "Standard for them. Let's show them what heavy means on Earth." The Nexar ground forces moved with the confidence of troops who had conquered countless worlds. Their armor was thick, their weapons powerful, and they expected the same easy victory they'd always achieved against peaceful species. They weren't prepared for humans. The first sign that this battle would be different came when a Nexar heavy weapons specialist fired what should have been a devastating blast at a human position. The Marine simply caught herself as the impact pushed her back a few steps, then returned fire with a weapon designed to function in Earth's crushing atmosphere. "By the void," a Nexar commander shouted as his troops' armor began failing against human weapons. "What are these creatures?" Walsh led her forces in a counterattack that defied the raiders' understanding of combat. Humans in powered armor moved through the low gravity like ghosts, covering distances in single bounds that would have exhausted other species. Their weapons, designed for Earth's dense atmosphere, cut through Nexar defenses like paper. But it wasn't just about combat. Between engagements, Walsh watched her Marines helping Xylaxian civilians evacuate damaged structures. The humans moved with extraordinary care, their massive armored forms delicately assisting beings so fragile that a wrong touch could shatter them. In the medical facility, Dr. O'Connor worked alongside Xylaxian healers, treating casualties from both sides. The aliens watched in amazement as he handled equipment that would have crushed them, using his strength to save lives rather than take them. The Nexar are pushing toward the power distribution hub, Rodriguez reported from orbit. If they destroy it, half the city's environmental systems will fail. Not happening, Walsh responded. She directed her forces to form a defensive line, using techniques developed for fighting in Earth's gravity to create an immovable barrier. The Nexar found themselves pushing against warriors whose bones and muscles had developed under pressures that would kill most species. The battle shifted as the raiders realized their usual tactics weren't working. They attempted to take Xylaxian hostages, only to discover that humans could move faster in the low gravity than they could react. Walsh's Marines executed rescue operations with surgical precision, their enhanced strength allowing them to protect the fragile aliens while neutralizing threats. They're falling back toward their landing zones, Reed reported. But something's wrong. Their movement patterns are too organized. Walsh saw it too. The Nexar weren't retreating, they were regrouping for a final, desperate attack. Their remaining forces were converging on the city's central power core, a massive crystalline structure that channeled energy from the binary stars. If that core detonates, a Xylaxian engineer warned, his patterns flashing urgent colors, the chain reaction will destroy everything within 10 kilometers. Walsh made her decision instantly. All units, converge on the central core. Form a perimeter. Nothing gets through. The Marines moved into position, their armor gleaming in the light of the twin suns. They created concentric rings of defense around the power core, each layer prepared to fight in conditions that would incapacitate most species. The Nexar attack came from all directions at once. They had abandoned their usual tactics in favor of pure desperation, willing to die if it meant destroying their enemy's prize. But they found themselves facing creatures who had evolved as persistence predators on a death world. Humans who could fight for hours in conditions that would exhaust most species in minutes. Warriors whose natural stamina was enhanced by technology designed to function under Earth's punishing gravity. Hold the line, Walsh ordered as she personally engaged a Nexar heavy assault unit. Her armor servos whined as she caught a blow that would have shattered Xylaxian construction, then countered with methodical precision. The battle for the core became a lesson in human adaptability. Marines used the crystalline structures to redirect their weapons' energy, creating killing zones that caught the raiders in crossfire. They transformed what the Nexar thought would be their final victory into their last defeat. When the last Nexar raider fell, Walsh stood in the central plaza, surrounded by the aftermath of battle. Not a single crystalline building had fallen. Not one Xylaxian civilian had been lost to hostile action. The monsters of Earth had proved they could be the most gentle of guardians. High Counselor Lyra approached the human commander, her patterns showing a complex mix of fear and gratitude. "You fought like demons," she said, "but protected like angels." Walsh removed her helmet, showing the Xylaxian leader a human smile. "That's what Earth taught us. Sometimes the strongest have to be the most careful." 1 month after the Battle of Xylax Prime, the crystalline spires of the capital city gleamed under the binary suns, now stronger than ever. Human engineering had helped reinforce the structures with nearly invisible lattices of Earth-based materials, making them as resilient as they were beautiful. Admiral Hayes stood in the High Council chamber, watching the holographic display showing the remains of the Nexar fleet being dismantled. Alongside her, High Counselor Lyra's patterns shifted with colors of contemplation. "The galaxy is changing," Lyra observed. "Word of this battle has spread. 3 other civilizations have already requested human protection against raiders and pirates." Hayes nodded, understanding the implications. And how many have asked for reassurance that we won't turn on them ourselves? Fewer than you might think. Lyra's patterns flickered with what humans had learned was amusement. It seems that watching Death Worlders risk their lives to protect others has changed many perspectives. In the city below, the integration of human and Xylaxian technology was creating something unprecedented. Chief Engineer Tanaka worked alongside Xylaxian scientists, combining Earth's resilient engineering with crystal-based energy systems. The results were revolutionary: defensive systems that could withstand tremendous force while maintaining the elegant efficiency the Xylaxians were known for. It's not just about making things stronger, Tanaka explained to a group of alien apprentices. It's about understanding how different kinds of strength can work together. Dr. O'Connor had established a joint medical research facility, where human durability and Xylaxian healing abilities were being studied in tandem. The combination was proving extraordinary: treatments that could help beings from any world survive conditions they never evolved to handle. Your people's ability to endure what should be fatal is remarkable, his Xylaxian colleague noted, watching human tissue samples regenerate under crystal therapy. Combined with our healing technology, we might be able to help species survive on worlds they could never have lived on before. Colonel Walsh had remained planetside, training a joint defense force. The sight of humans in powered armor carefully instructing Xylaxians in defensive techniques had become common. The aliens would never match human physical capabilities, but they were learning to use their own unique strengths in combination with human protection. The key, Walsh told her mixed class of human and Xylaxian security forces, is understanding that different kinds of strength have different purposes. Sometimes the strongest action is knowing when not to use force at all. In orbit, the UES Thunderchild had become a symbol of the new partnership. Its hull now incorporated Xylaxian crystal technology, making it not just tough but capable of channeling and redirecting energy in ways human engineers had never imagined possible. Commander Rodriguez supervised the installation of new sensor arrays, watching human and Xylaxian crews working together with growing ease. A month ago, they could barely stand to be in the same room with us, he mused. Now they're teaching us things about space we never knew. But perhaps the most profound changes were cultural. In the great archives of Xylax Prime, the term Death Worlder was being redefined. What had once been a fearful classification for species from harsh worlds was becoming a mark of respect, beings whose strength made them uniquely suited to be protectors. "We're establishing a permanent embassy," Hayes informed Lyra as they watched the sunset paint the crystal spires in rainbow hues. "Earth has authorized a constant defensive presence in this sector." Lyra's patterns showed deep satisfaction. "The Nexar raids have dropped by 80% since news of the battle spread. It seems even pirates can learn fear. But more importantly, they're learning that humanity's strength has purpose." In the streets below, human children from the newly established Earth Quarter played with young Xylaxians, their parents watching carefully but without anxiety. The human kids instinctively moderated their strength, while their crystalline playmates shared their natural ability to create beautiful light patterns. "That's the real victory," Hayes said, gesturing to the scene below. "Not that we won the battle, but that we proved monsters don't have to be monstrous." The final piece fell into place a week later, when the Galactic Council formally recognized Earth as a protector species, a designation that had never existed before. The resolution acknowledged that evolution on a death world had created not just warriors, but potential guardians for all peaceful species. As Hayes prepared to return to Earth, leaving behind a permanent defense force, she received one last message from Lyra: "We once feared the creatures from the death world. Now we understand that sometimes the strongest hands can be the gentlest, and the most fearsome protectors can be the most trusted friends." The monsters of Earth had found their true purpose. Not to conquer, not to destroy, but to stand between the darkness and those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was helping to change it, one protected world at a time.